All right, guys, welcome back to another Deal Finders podcast. And this is a really fun one because we're going to talk about how do you actually find deals in your market space and talk to sellers, right? How do we get to talk to more sellers? So I've got a good friend, Brian Charlton from REI Print Mail here, and they've been doing our mail for years. Well, since we started. So since we started sending mail, I think these have been our guys at least since 2018. So super excited to talk to Brian. They have really perfected the mail, so I'm gonna let him talk about it. So, Brian, thanks for being here. Just introduce yourself and tell people who you are.
Yeah, Andrew, I appreciate the time. Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it. So again, like Andrew said, my name's Brian Charlton. I'm with REI Print Mail. We're based out of St. Louis, Missouri. Um, 15-year-old print company focusing on the REI space. Actually, we're 33 years old, but we've been focusing on the REI space for about the past 15 years, mainly because myself and my brother who owns the company, Jeff Charlton, we're both investors ourselves. I've done a little bit of wholesaling. I do have some rentals that I hold in Memphis. And when we were looking at those properties, we came across a group that at that time, about 15, 16 years ago, mail really wasn't a big lead gen source for real estate investors. It was all boots on the ground, courthouse step auction type things. And because we had experience in the print world and especially direct mail, this time it was direct mail for all businesses. We put our brains together and said, hey, why can't we try direct mail and try to get people calling you for interested in getting rid of their property? So we found a list. We put together a mail piece. At the time, it was, you're probably familiar with it. It's the old yellow letter, the legal line letter with the red ink. That was one of the first mail pieces we created. We still use it today. It's not quite as successful, but it's in our arsenal right now. And that's kind of how it was born. Fast forward to 2025, here we are. Really have focused on the real estate industry and ramp things up through individuals like Andrew, partnering with them, talking to students and helping them get deals through mail. And it really has grown where we are to the point where we're sending about 4 million pieces of mail every single month to over 1,000 investor clients across the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii. We do it religiously month in and month out, we have our own library of mail pieces already ready, created, ready to go. No need to reinvent the wheel. They've been tested to work, proven to work. We just populate that information with the clients or contact information, phone number if they're answering their own phones, mail it out, and the phone rings.
Yeah.
Um, so, and Andrew, feel free to jump in if you want me to elaborate on something. But we have our own data platform, meaning clients sometimes bring their list to us to mail to, and a lot of times they need the data. So we can dive into that data. We have our own proprietary data platform. Now we're pulling from public tax records, which pretty much everybody gets their data from there, but we're going straight to the source, and utilizing our own software allows us to filter that list down to specifically what the client's looking for, i.e. the geography, more specifically, the type of property, whether it's a single family, multifamily, condos, mobile homes, et cetera. Vacant lands have been a big thing the past couple of years. We can really focus on that and then target it. Now, it's not just going after anybody and everybody, because that's not cost effective to a mail budget. We focus on distressed sellers. And that's a pretty vague term,
Yeah.
but we go about it a pretty unique way, which is kind of the stack list approach, meaning that we're going to focus on a variety of different distressors in that list. It might be absentee owners. It might be seniors who've been in their homes for 30 plus years with high equity that need repairs, that just don't want to list it. They're looking for people like Andrew to buy that home and just take it off their hands for a quick cash transaction, as well as stuff like what's called Liz pendings, which is legal action pending, like divorces. Well, although that's usually not pending, but that falls within that category. Divorces, bankruptcies, foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, tax delinquencies, tax lien stuff, all of that. A big one is something called intrafamily transfers, which a lot of times when a person passes away, they pass that property into another family member, i.e. probate too. But that's a big one.
Yep.
We'll hit that too. So the point is, we stack that list together and we create our master list, and then we mail to that based on the client's budget, their scope, how they're looking to grow, how they're looking to scale. That all kind of dictates how much mail goes out the door, as well as the size of the area too. That also dictates it. Um,
Yep.
so, you go ahead if you got questions, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, you went through a ton there. And so the cool thing about this podcast is we do like to give some like straight, like give the big picture, but then what is the actual steps? How does someone actually do this? So I got a couple questions that'll lead us there that hopefully someone listening to this podcast or watching this on YouTube, you can see it's on YouTube as well. You can actually follow these steps. So you can take a pen and paper out and write this down. So the first place is like, how do they find you? So I've got the link up on dealfindersclub.com/links, and REI Print Mail is in the middle of the page, and you just click that and you will then go straight to you guys, right? So
Right.
Brian, they show up, and now we're talking to think about Matt. Matt is the client that we were just talking about, that's, you know, locally, and he wanted to do deals in his backyard right now. He wanted to get some mail out to talk to sellers. So who do these, like, what do home buyers, if I want to flip the house, or if I want a rental, or I want to wholesale it, who do I target? How do I like, you know, I don't want to just send it to everybody, do I? Like, who do I send it to?
No, that's a great question. That kind of goes back to when I say when we pull that list, regardless of what your dispo strategy is, you're still going to go after the same people. The point is you want to go after homeowners that are they're of some level of distress. They want to get out of that property. So we'll still approach that the same way. So it really is not up to the client that is looking to, i.e., you, the investor who's looking to buy the property, kind of who they go after unless they have a specific category. Like for instance, some people only they don't like to deal with absentee owners because they have this pre notion that it's a lot harder to get an absentee property because you have a renter in it and whatnot. It's really no different than going after a senior owner and getting them out of the house. It doesn't really matter. If someone is distressed enough, they're going to get rid of that property. So we focus on that just based on the level of distress. And that's how we craft that list to get juicy enough leads to get them calling when they receive those mail pieces. Now, the biggest thing that we fall in is what's the client looking to do? When I say the client, I mean the investor. How are they looking to grow? Are they looking to close a deal a month, 2 deals a month, 3 deals a month, one every 3 months? That's really going to dictate the marketing budget, the spend, and the size of the mail list. Assuming that the area they're in has enough data to warrant how much they're wanting to send if they have a larger budget, a larger growth
Uh,
growth scale projection.
so so say I'm brand new. Do I have to pick all those things, or you guys do that?
Absolutely not. All you need to tell me, the thing you just need to tell me is the biggest thing is the type of property you're looking to go after. So some people mainly want to go single family homes, 3 beds, 2 baths, 1,200 square feet, between 300,000 and $600,000. Now that's just a random example, but the buy box is what we call that. That's what's super important, as well as the geography. Do you have a certain amount of zip codes that you like to go after? Is it a county? Is it a city? Is it all of the above? And if you don't know as an investor, I can kind of help you with that. It's better to kind of go a little more narrow focus when you're just starting out, as opposed to getting too broad. I.e., like in a city like Houston, Texas is huge. When you have potential 500,000 records that you can mail to, that's a big chunk for a new investor to bite off on and really attack it in a way that's going to make sense and not just eat away at their budget. So we'll like to say, okay, in Houston, are there a couple zip codes that you like better than others? And sometimes they kind of know the areas that are better than others based on crime or where they see the deals coming from. That really kind of dictates where we go after. But even if at all said and done, if they still need help with that, we could kind of make some general suggestions as is a strategy. We really can't recommend you need to go into this market over that market, because the investor knows what market's best based on where they're located. They know their back door better than we do.
Yeah.
We just apply the strategic approach to that to try to get their phone ringing as much as possible.
Yeah. And you talked about, you guys are sitting in 4 million pieces of mail every month. So and I'm big on like KPIs and data, you know, like what does that mean and all that. And I don't want to get into that today because it's a podcast, right? People get bored when we start talking about that. But what we do know is that it gives you some behind the scenes insight to what's working and how, you know, how it works for investors. So along that note, what are you seeing work? What kind of mail is getting best, you know, getting people to call, but not just call, but like actually do deals?
No, that's a great question. No, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it because it's kind of how we differentiate ourselves as mail providers against our competition. We track a good majority of our mail. Not all of our clients sign up for our tracking service, but the ones that do, that really allows us to look at some insight into the data as to if I want to pull up South Carolina and look what pieces are performing better in South Carolina. That can, because we're tracking that mail through all of our clients, we can tell the never mail pieces sent and the response rate, the conversion rate. So we use that to recommend to our clients that are in similar areas, similar markets, what they should send, what they shouldn't send. Now, the type of mail pieces overall in general, like I said when I first talked, the yellow letter, when it first came out, that thing was hot as fire, man.
Yeah.
The response rate was off the charts. As is like anything, things get saturated, especially this day and age. Investing is super competitive. There's a lot of people chasing the same properties. So we really try to come up with new mail pieces and really innovate and generate new mail pieces that are going to get the response rates ticking back up. But for the most part, any type of mail piece that has some sort of offer on it, we're finding typically performs better than the ones that don't. Now, that's not a true statement across the board, but at the very minimum, if I create a campaign for a client, one of those mail pieces for sure is going to have an offer on it, meaning it might be a fake check or a postcard with an offer. We call them soft offers. You're not actually paying that price for the property because that represents property is in almost perfect condition, meaning it doesn't need any work. It doesn't need new appliances. It doesn't need a new roof. That's not the case. We know that. Typically, these people that are looking to sell homes in the situation, these homes need some TLC. But the point is because they get that offer and they get that piece in the mail, well, the check's a great example. They get excited. They see that someone not only wants to buy the property, they've applied a number to it. So it creates curiosity and forces the phone call. It doesn't necessarily mean that that converts, but it drives a phone call. And that's what we're trying to do to get the phone ringing with people that are interested in selling their properties.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, we like the checks. We saw good stuff from the checks. And, one thing that continue to look at and to tweak is what number's on that check. What is the value?
Sure.
What price are you putting on the check based on? I think you guys, do you use the assessor's value or some other source?
We have that's a pretty touchy subject only because trying to mass pull values on homes is one of the most difficult things to do because there really is no, aside from going out and getting 5,000 appraisals on a list, which obviously is ridiculous. Your value, it's assumed for lack of better terms, like a Zestimate. We don't pull Zillow values, but it's a similar type of approach. We're constantly tweaking that. We have if you buy data from us, our new valuation software or model, if you will, is more based on a financial backing. Now, our data provider, who we get that from, he's not disclosing the secret sauce to that, but it has been approved a lot more accurate. So that's the starting number. As to what number that goes on that check, it's usually a percentage of that estimated value. Roughly, we recommend starting in the 80% range. Now, as things have gotten more competitive, that 80 is ticked up to more like 85%, because what's happening is if you're a home that qualifies or is in the distressed, genre of where you're probably going to get mail pieces from somebody, those people are getting hit with a tons of mail pieces and they're getting multiple offer-based pieces. And what happens is we find that they're going to sort through that and usually call the highest offer in the pile first. So we want to try to head that off at the chase and be that higher offer.
Yeah. I like
Drive that phone call. And sometimes it's a tougher conversation because the difference is kind of far off. But if they're truly motivated and you're good at what you do for Dispo, you're going to have a meaningful conversation with them and try to come up with a solution with them. But at least that offer drove that initial phone call. And that's what our job is to do, is get that phone to ring for you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And always, obviously, quality conversations with sellers is what leads to these deals. And again,
Correct.
getting the mail out there, getting it in front of people, marketing is just letting them know that you exist. We talk a lot about the fact that before a few years ago, I mean, homeowners in most of the country didn't even know that it was possible to sell the property outside of an agent, right? I mean, I think we owe a lot to
Absolutely.
the companies.
Yeah.
It's like, where it became a thing of like cash buyers, right? For not pretty houses, I guess would be the right way to say it. And so that kind of introduced it. But even then, I don't know that most people understood that somebody could come buy your house and offer you a pretty good price and provide a service for you without going through the MLS and then
Absolutely.
being buyers and stuff like that. So now it's commonplace, but most sellers still don't they'll look at that as their first option, or they don't know if their house qualifies. So getting that marketing in front of them is paramount, and it's number one, right? It's the number one thing to do. But after that, you got it in their hands. You guys. So they went to the link at dealfindersclub.com/links. They found you. They called you, said, "Hey, this is my area. I want to be in, in North Carolina, Raleigh, near the university or something." And so you talk to them, you got a location, you got a price point, and you pick a list. You guys send it. Now my phone's ringing, right? You got to put my phone number on it. What's next? What is a home buyer, a flipper, wholesaler? What do they do next?
Well, obviously they're going to answer those phone calls and hopefully get some deals out of it. But when they first talked to me and we crafted that campaign, it's not just one drop of mail and be done with it. We're setting them up as a multi-drop campaign. Typically, it's a 90-day we like to start with. Usually, we're going to touch a list 2 or 3 times. And the reason we do that is a couple reasons. Number one, not all people respond to the same message and the same marketing. So when we send a campaign, we might send a check and then a postcard and then maybe a yellow letter. You mix up the message, you mix up the look and feel, because although the checks are cool and they seem like it's a no-brainer, it's a genius marketing idea, there are people that just don't respond to that for whatever reason. They don't believe it. They think it's a scam. They're offended. As you know, Andrew, you get a lot of people, crazy people that call that get offended by the easiest things, and they're going to let you know. That just comes with mail. So we like to hit people with different pieces and different messages to try to get that person to call that wasn't going to call. So you got that. That's the number one issue. Number two, the mail might go in the trash. It might get missed. The husband or the spouse might throw it away. So for silly reasons like that, we want to hit them more than once. So the point I'm trying to make to your original question is there's a campaign that's going on. As they're answering the phone, we at REI Print Mail, we're managing that campaign in the background. Mail is going out usually on a weekly basis, depending on their volume. If it's a smaller volume, we might just send it once a month, but the volume kind of dictates the frequency. But at the very least, that list is being touched once every 30 days. So we've got that going on autopilot from them. All they're doing is answering the phone, closing those deals, getting some good leads. And then hopefully, when we do our review calls, which typically we like to meet with the client once every month, see how the campaign's going, see if it's on par with expectations. If there's any questions, we try to address those. If it's not performing, what are some of the reasons why it may not be performing? Is it a economical thing? Is it a list thing? Is it a dispo thing? There's a lot of times where client might get lots of phone calls, but they just can't close,
Right.
And although we can't really help closing, there's a couple things we can kind of basic things we could step them through. Like a lot of the times it's with the offer-based things. People are very scared to send that because they're afraid that they're going to bait and switch. Well, there's a couple things that we can suggest that they say that kind of make that conversational easier. But the biggest thing is the consistency. And that's what we do is we get that mail out, we keep it going. We're their in-house marketing department, if you will, and they're just focusing on the phone calls. We can even help them with the phone calls too, if that's something that they're uncomfortable with, or they don't have the time to do it. Because you get some investors that still have a 9-to-5 job and they want to get investing, but they can't answer their phone during the day because they're working their 9-to-5. Well, we have a call team on the back end called REI Smart Call, where we can also answer the inbound phone calls. So we provide the data, we mail the mail, and if need be, we answer those phone calls too. We do those for small clients, big clients that have acquisition departments. And it's not because you're good or bad at answering the phone that you should consider that. It's because the extra bandwidth that we can allow you to have by utilizing our services.
Yeah.
We answer the phones 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. Up to, what does that mean? That means we can answer with a live human being about 80% of the time. That's a pretty huge number. The reason being is if you go back to when we talked about all the mail that we track, we can also track the number of phone calls that our clients are answering. And we find that on average, 20-30% of the time, they're only answering their phones. It's a small amount, not because they're bad or they don't care. It's because they're busy doing other things. They're either talking to another homeowner, they're out walking a property doing an inspection, they're sending the quote, they're at dinner with their family because it's a Saturday night, all of the above. We provide bandwidth that they can't have, to the point where we find when it's all said and done, when you utilize our phone team, you're definitely getting more deals. If you're not, you're throwing away about half your leads.
Yeah.
Because they're not talking to them. You don't even know they're calling. So we had the answer to your question, but
No, that's great. That's perfect because Two things you hit on, which was number one is like the consistency of it, right? You don't just send one batch. It's multiple hits, like multiple contacts with a potential seller. Again,
Right.
we're trying to let them know that we have a service that they may be interested in, which is typically it's, quick cash, convenient close, whatever, whatever works.
Absolutely.
And so you got to let them know that, and you can't just do it once, right? It's the multiple touches. So that was big. That was kind of the big thing I was wanting to hear you say. And then the fact that you offer a service for people. So a lot of the folks, especially our clients, our deal partners that we work with, a lot of them are working 9-to-5 jobs. They've realized real estate, it has so much potential, so much opportunity, but they can't, risk going out on it just yet because they've got family, they've got commitments, they've got a lot of people have like retirement that's a few years away. Like, I'm not looking
Correct.
just
Yeah.
yet, but I want to start real estate now. And so that 9-to-5 is kind of not necessarily in the way, but it does limit the amount of phone calls they could take. So a lot of people are afraid to send direct mail because, as I tell them, if you can't answer the phone, you're basically throwing away half those deals, because if they go to your voicemail, they're probably going to call someone else by the time you get off work and try them back. So I love that service.
100% correct.
I 100% uh, recommend people find someone to answer the phone. We've always had a live answer service for our off hours.
We,
Recently went to 24-hour live answer.
no, that's great.
Yeah.
So, and the biggest thing too is we've recently made it a lot more affordable too. You can A lot of our add-on services like the tracking and the answering is a subscription-based service. At the core function of it all, we can send mail, and that's all you want us to do. We can just send mail for you. But we add the other stuff on to increase your chance of success. But the call team is a lot more affordable. Um, I didn't really want to get into a bunch of pricing on this, but I can just tell you for $500 a month, you can have someone answer the phone for you. That's pretty inexpensive. That's a lot cheaper than hiring your own person and having to deal with that. A lot of people go out and hire their own VAs. That's kind of the buzz term now. Um, our call team, they are assembled of VAs, but they've been working for us for years. All they talk is real estate, and they only work for us. They know what they're doing. They're good at it, and we get good results from them. So it's very affordable.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I can tell you from personal experience, the VA route that's good and it's less expensive, but you have to manage them. So if you're not actively managing them, you might as well not have them.
Exactly.
Similar for to manage, your team, just like any other team, wherever you
Or
work.
train them, and there's a lot of script training, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I love that. I love this, step 1, 2, 3, 4 to get these deals. And then, the, the marketing, you guys don't really run away after you send the postcards or the letters, is that you come back and you review the data, review the return, what's happened. And like we were talking about earlier with Matt and a client of ours, that he, was able to say, yes, I closed the deal from this marketing campaign. Here was the revenue, here was the expense, here's our ROI. And you guys do that. You coach people through that. And
Correct.
guys, if you're looking for anyone to help you with your marketing, these are the things you wouldn't need to ask them, right? Is how can you help me? How are you going to, what data do you have to work with? What are you going to coach me on? What have you learned from other people, so that I don't have to pay for that? I don't have to pay for that education. I don't need to pay for you to learn the business, right? That's why you guys focus on real estate. You know it, and you've got the data and you've got the experience. So that's
100%.
what you want to ask if you're looking for somebody to help you. And this has been really great, Brian, just kind of going through the whole piece. And of course, when you get the people on the phone, that's when it kicks into a different gear. But what else? Is there anything else you want to leave for the podcast listeners, watchers on YouTube, that can help them really get started with direct mail?
All I could say is book a call with me, because it's a free consultation. We'll go through your market. We'll go through, what you're trying to do, what goals are you trying to achieve, how are you looking to scale your business. And what I'll do is I'll make a recommendation based on your market. This is the amount of money you need to spend to achieve this. Every market has its own unique formula. In your market, Andrew, it costs X dollars per deal. Well, that formula exists in every single market. We know that pretty well because of all the data that we compile and all the results that we track. So the best thing to do is book a call with me. and I'll make my recommendations. We can work with any budget. There does become a point where if you're not sending enough mail, it doesn't really make sense, but I'll explain that too. Mail, simply put, is a numbers game. It's a numbers game and it's a consistency game. The people that send the numbers and keep doing it, they win out. We have clients that have been with us for years and years. They by far are the most successful. You're going to have your ebbs and flows too. You're going to have your good months and your bad months. It's marketing. It's just how it works. But I'll be with you through the whole process and be making recommendations and pivoting when we have to pivot. A lot of the other mail companies out there, you have to, although they might be cheaper than us, you have to bring your own data. You have to decide which mail piece you use. You have to place each individual order and each individual cadence. When you work with me, I take care of all of that. You literally, it's a set it and forget it. You worry about answering the phone. I do the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. When you just mentioned that, like, you guys totally spoiled us when I've talked to other people. So you take care of it, every week we know, we send it and you guys got it. So, well, that's great, Brian. And so what, the people can go to our website, dealfindersclub.com/links. You're there. If they just want to shoot you an email or a message, what's the best way to do that? Social media or just email? What?
Email is great. In my email address, and we can talk about maybe sharing this too. It's BRC Bravo Robert Charlie at REI printmail.com. That's my email. I also have a booking. I also have a link to book a call. I can share that with you, Andrew, and you can get it to your people.
Just send it to me. We'll put it in the show notes. And then, if you just call Brian or book a call, just tell him you heard him on the Deal Finders podcast, and he'll make sure you get some bonuses or help you out a little extra.
Yeah, we're going to run a special for your people, Andrew. So I will keep that silent till you book a call with me. So
there you go. I like it.
Worth your while. I'll make it worth your while. I promise.
That's right. So we already talked about it, so it's worth it. It's definitely worth the call. So, Brian, I really appreciate this, and this is so helpful. I know for our partners, our community, and everybody listening, to really hone in on what marketing is and how can I use it ultimately for for our business to succeed. So, you guys, if this was helpful for you, if you find yourself you found that real estate is the place for you, you know that this is where you're going to earn your extra income, make a living at, or build your wealth, and you just don't really know how to get started, go to dealfindersclub.com. There's a button at the top that says chat, and just book a call with me, and we'll talk about what your next steps could and possibly should be based on where you are today. So until next time, y'all have a great day and go find some deals.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks for listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast. You can find out more and apply to be a part of the REI Deal Finder community at reidealfinders.club.